Okay, so what is the process when you want to sell a house? And we're going to go through the details of when you sell a house normally. When I say normally, because 90% of the time a house is sold via um, listing it with an agent on the multiple listing service. My chair is really low. Let me just get a little higher. Okay. And then we'll talk about selling it to an investor and what the differences are, and you'll sort of understand why somebody might go with each of those two things. So, again, if you want the most money for a property, you don't have a time constraint, the property's in decent condition, you should sell it on the MLS with an agent. Okay. If there are other issues, then we're going to talk about why you might want to sell it with an investor. But what's the process? So we're in a super hot market now. I'm filming this in September of 2021. Um, Here's the process: you decide to sell, find an agent, you sign a listing agreement with them. Now, most typical agencies, so the large ones, the ones everybody knows, Keller Williams, Century 21, Douglas Elliman, they're going to probably ask you to list it for a year, which is an absurd thing. If you push them, they'll tell you to list for 6 months. I think it's nuts. I think anybody who lists for more than 90 days is ridiculous. But you list it with them, you negotiate with them how much you want to pay them. Most of the time, they're going to ask you to pay 5%. Maybe you can negotiate them down to 4, but it's a negotiation. Everything is a negotiation. If an agent tells you I can't do this because my broker won't let me, you probably should use a different agent. So you're going to negotiate how much time the listing agreement is going to be for and how much money you're going to pay them. You're going to sign that agreement. They should immediately take pictures, and then they will post that um, the pictures and the listing up on the multiple listing service. It will then go to all the other sites like Zillow, Trulia, and 100,000 others. Um, and they should schedule open house if you're okay with that, and they're going to bring buyers to it. Now, even in the hottest markets, no matter what anybody says, it's going to take a week or two to find a buyer and start receiving offers. Now, I get questions a lot about are the people that come to see my house qualified? Now, in theory, right, and if you're looking at like a $20 million mansion, you could restrict the people coming in to only people that are qualified. I don't think that's a smart move most of the time. You want as many people to see the house as possible. You don't want to ask them difficult questions to come and see it. And let's face the facts: most people that are seeing your property are going to see other people's property too. So you want to make it easy for them to see. Once they want to submit an offer, then they should be qualified. So what you want to see when you take an offer is you want to see either proof of funds. So somebody says they want to offer you $400,000 for your house. Show me the money. Show me $400,000, or a pre-approval from a real lender saying that we've been through their information and we have approved them. Now, to be honest, 99% of pre-approvals aren't worth the paper they're written on. That's the truth. Um, but at least you know they've called a mortgage company and they told the mortgage company information that should qualify. I can't tell you how many situations I've had where somebody. So let me just explain a couple things that I do differently. So first, let's take it from the back. If you ever list with me, you're going to pay much less in commissions, right? Somewhere between 2% and 3%, 2 and 3.5% in commissions, and I'm only going to do the listing for 60 days, much quicker, right? I'll have it in contract by then. Also, um, if someone gives me an offer and a pre-approval, I'm calling that guy and I'm asking him because I had 17 years in the mortgage business. So I tell him, listen, did you really run this guy? Did you do anything besides run this guy's credit? Did you even run his credit? Did you check his income? Did you just take his word for it? I'm gonna have a much better idea. But most people don't. Most people don't really understand how mortgages work. They think they do, but believe me, 17 years in the business, I can tell you how. This isn't a pitch for me. I'm just telling you how the process works. So let's go through the process. You list the property with somebody. They start showing it to people. They start receiving offers. You accept an offer. Immediately after you accept an offer, an inspection is going to get done, right? Most of the time. Now, sometimes it won't, right? But most 9 out of 10 times, an inspection is going to get done. Now, the inspection in New York gets done between the accepted offer before you go to contract. Assuming the inspection comes back and they don't ask for any adjustments or repairs, or even if they do, they're going to send you, hey, can you fix these few things? Or, hey, we need $3,000 off because our inspector says your roof is going to have to be replaced in 5 years. That can happen, and you may decide that's fine, right? They may be the best offer by $20,000. If you're asking for $3,000 off, you say okay, or you could say go after yourself. No, I'm not doing it. So then then what happens is your attorney as a seller prepares a contract and sends it out to the buyer. Now again, if the buyer has asked for specific repairs or credits, then it'll just show up in there. Sometimes there's something called the seller's concession that they can ask for, which basically means if you agree to a price of $400,000, but they want to finance a big chunk of the closing cost, you'll get a seller's concession of 10. So your price will be 410,000, and you'll concede $10,000 for costs. But then they can get financing. They can get a mortgage based on 410,000. And if they're getting, let's say, 80% financing, it means they're going to borrow another $8,000 that they don't have to take out of their pocket. All this gets negotiated between your attorney, their attorney. Then the contract comes back. Usually the attorneys go back and forth. It's not unusual for the contract process between the time you agree to accept their offer till the contracts get signed for it to take a month. I have situations where it's taking much more than that. And then they go get a mortgage. Mortgages today are slow as molasses. It'll take, I'd say, on average 2 to 3 months. Now, I've had situations where it only took a month. I've had situations where it took 8 months and nobody was doing anything wrong. Just something stupid happened, whatever kind of thing. So, in general, if you want to sell a property by X date, you need to list it 4 months before. Right? Regardless of what people say, oh, there's nothing for sale, everything's flying off the shelves. It's going to take 4 months. You got to figure 4 months. Maybe you're lucky, it'll take 3. That's a regular process, and I'm not even getting into a lot. The real problem is that almost every contract today is going to have something in it called a mortgage contingency. Now, mortgage contingency means, without being really blunt, it's really a get out of contract free card. So I've had situations where people had me strung along for 4 months and then told me, sorry, we got denied. Now, I'll give you another insider piece of information. I was in the mortgage business for 17 years. On well over probably 100 occasions, someone called me and said, I changed my mind. Give me a denial. It's really easy to deny somebody for a mortgage. If a pay stub expires, if a bank statement expires, you get denied. And I gave people those denials. So pretty much anybody can get out of the contract. That's the risk you take. Now, most buyers are not going to do that. Most buyers are going to close, right? They want the house. But just understand that there is a complete lack of certainty if you go into a standard contract agreement where there's a mortgage contingency. So now let's talk about the other option. So if you are in a time constraint, or you have a problem with the condition of the property, or the municipality has a problem with the property, for instance, there's open permits or open violations and things, you may want to go to an investor. Now, if you go to an investor, this is how the process works. Somebody like me will come, we'll take a look, we'll give you an offer there or the next day, and if you agree, we'll go to contract, usually quicker, a couple of weeks. And then basically I'll close as soon as I get a title report, or longer if you want, right? I bought more houses from people who needed more time than I bought from people who were really on short, really needed to rush. So basically I'll close whenever you want. And that's pretty much it. I may come in with the contractors to take a look at it once or twice, but that's it. It's pretty much a trade-off. You're usually going to get less money when you sell to an investor, but you're trading some money for the certainty and convenience that an investor provides, right? Whatever my price is not going to change. I don't have any contingencies or any outs in my contract. I have no way out. So I can't come to you and say I couldn't get a mortgage. I can't come to you and say, hey, I changed my mind. I can't come to you at all. If I do, you're going to keep my deposit and you're going to sell it to somebody else, and now you have my deposit, so you could even sell it for less and still make more money. So, but every single contract I go into, it needs to close at the price that I tell you. So that's the certainty and the convenience of not having a million people come into your house, not having an agent call you at 10:30 at night and say, hey, somebody just told me they're in the area and they sound like a great buyer, so would you please come and do it? So that's the certainty and convenience that an investor provides. It's really a straight up trade. It's just like going to Starbucks, paying $7 for a cup of coffee that costs 20 cents. You're doing it for the certainty and convenience that Starbucks provide. You know everything's going to be there. You don't have to buy beans. You don't have to buy a grinder. You don't have to buy a milk frother. You have to deal with any of that crap. You're paying a ridiculous amount for a cup of coffee, some ice sometimes, and you're doing it for the certainty and convenience that Starbucks provides. And that's the same thing of selling your house to an investor. You're doing it. You're giving up some of the proceeds of your sale for the certainty and convenience that an investor provides. It's an easier process. But I've gone to many houses where they told me, we want a cash buyer, and then I've said to them, listen, there's no reason for you to sell it to me. You're going to leave too much money on the table. Let me list it for you. And this is why. And again, if you don't have a time constraint on one way or the other, so you don't have to close really quickly, and don't have to close in a long time, you know where you're going, you have flexibility on your time frame, and the house is in good condition, and the buyer can get a mortgage, you should list it with an agent. And that's what 90% of the houses in pretty much every area go for. They go listed with an agent on the MLS, and that's where you get the most money. You get the most money that way because the most people come to see it. Um, I'm going to do another video on why you should not sell it by owner, but I can tell you that that is always a mistake. Always. Always. So if your house is in good shape and you can sell it by owner, you probably should just sell it listed with an agent. You'll probably still make more money even after you pay your commissions. We can talk about why. Um, but if your house has any of those issues that we discussed before, then you should go to an investor. That is the basics of the process. Thank you very, very much for watching.